There's a massive misconception out there that you can just launch your business, start selling your goods in Michigan, and then, figure out all that pesky tax paperwork later on. But here's the reality check. It is actually strictly illegal to make your very first taxable retail sale in Michigan without getting your sales tax permit first. Literally no exceptions. Doesn't matter if you're a lone sole proprietor, a partnership, or a massive LLC. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to completely demystify the Michigan sales tax permit. We're turning what feels like this huge, intimidating bureaucratic chore into a super simple, actionable roadmap, all based on exact guidelines straight from the state. Right out of the gate, let's tackle the elephant in the room. It's the number one question new business owners have when they're staring down state compliance. You're probably sitting there wondering, okay, exactly how much do I need to budget for this mandatory piece of paper? What's the financial damage? Well, get ready for a pleasant surprise, because registering for your Michigan sales tax license costs absolutely nothing. Yep, $0. But hey, you need to hear this loud and clear. There are scam websites out there that are going to try and charge you bogus application fees to do this for you. Absolutely do not fall for them. The Michigan Department of Treasury charges 0 application fees and 0 renewal fees. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our agenda for today. 1. What is the permit? 2. Choosing your application method. 3. Step-by-step registration. 4. Avoiding common application pitfalls. 5. Insider tips for success. And 6. After you get approved. All right, Section 1. What is the permit? So officially, it's called a sales tax license under the Michigan General Sales Tax Act. Basically, it's the state giving your business the green light to legally collect sales tax from your customers and hand it over to the Treasury. And hey, here is a huge sigh of relief for your bookkeeping. Michigan has a flat 6% statewide rate. That means absolutely no localized city or county sales taxes to obsess over. Whether you're setting up shop in Saginaw or Rockwood, it's a flat 6% on most goods. Though, just a quick side note, certain residential utilities, like natural gas, do get a lower 4% rate. So who exactly needs this thing? Well, if you're a retailer selling tangible personal property, think clothing, jewelry, electronics, to a final consumer in Michigan, you need it. If you have any physical presence in the state, even just one single remote employee or a tiny bit of stored inventory, yep, you need it. Out-of-state remote sellers hitting certain thresholds, you need it too. And get this, even if you're just a temporary seller like a concessionaire at a festival, if you're selling at more than 2 events in Michigan in a single calendar year, you are legally on the hook to register. Now, what's really fascinating here is how easily out-of-state e-commerce businesses can accidentally trigger this tax obligation. It's something called economic nexus. See, you don't actually need a physical warehouse in Michigan to owe them taxes. If you're a remote seller and you make $100,000 in gross sales to Michigan customers in a calendar year, boom, you trigger nexus. But look closely at that second part on the slide, or 200 separate transactions. Think about that. That means if you sell just 200 separate $5 trinkets to buyers in Michigan, you've crossed the threshold and you legally have to register for a permit. It sneaks up on people. Moving right along to Section 2, choosing your application method. Now that we know exactly who needs this permit, let's talk execution. The state actually gives you a choice on how you want to submit your combined registration application. You've essentially got 2 main pathways here. You can use the state's electronic portal, that's called Michigan Treasury Online, or MTO for short. Or, if you really want to, you can go the old school route, grab a pen, fill out the physical paper Form 518, which is the Registration for Michigan Taxes booklet, and drop it in the mail. But trust me, your choice of method here matters immensely. And this brilliantly illustrates why. If you use the electronic application through MTO, it processes in like 5 to 10 minutes. You get near instant authentication. It's fantastic. But if you choose to mail in that paper application, you are looking at a delay of up to 30 days or even more. Some of the state's own documentation actually warns you to allow 4 to 6 weeks for paper processing. So if you want to get your business up and selling quickly, doing this online is really the only way to go. Which brings us to Section 3, step-by-step registration. Let's walk through the exact sequence for that highly recommended online MTO method. Step 1, you've got to gather your info. Pull together your legal entity details, your federal employer identification number, or your social security number, and your physical and legal addresses. Step 2, head over to mto.treasury.michigan.gov and create your user profile. Step 3, you'll complete the online version of Form 518. And it's actually super helpful to know that Form 518 is a unified application. It covers sales tax, use tax, and income withholding all in one single go, which really simplifies your life. Finally, Step 4, just hit submit. Once it's processed, which usually takes about 48 hours for full approval, you can log right back into the portal and literally print your license out yourself. All right, pay close attention to Section 4, Avoiding Common Application Pitfalls. So, as smooth as that online process is, there are some pretty severe compliance traps that catch new business owners totally off guard. And the absolute most crucial rule to remember is this. Even if you have a month or a quarter where you make absolutely zero sales, you are still legally required to log in and file a zero return. I can't stress this enough. Skipping a filing period does not pause your obligation. If you just ignore it because, hey, you didn't sell anything, the Treasury doesn't know that. They'll assume you're just delinquent and they can and will hit you with penalties. Another massive area of confusion is for wholesalers. If your business strictly sells wholesale to other businesses for resale, technically you aren't making retail sales, so you aren't required to pay sales tax. But you really should still register. Why? Because registering is what allows you to issue and accept Form 3372, the Certificate of Exemption. That's the specific paperwork you absolutely need to keep on file to prove to the state that your purchases and sales were legally tax-free. Let's speed things up with Section 5, Insider Tips for Success. I'm going to rapid-fire these insider secrets so you're totally equipped to streamline all this bureaucratic paperwork. First up, when they ask for a responsible party's ID, use a social security number if you possibly can. Yes, you can use an ITIN if you don't have a U.S. person on file, but fair warning, doing that is going to delay your processing by 3 to 4 months. It's a huge wait. Second tip, P.O. boxes are totally fine for your mailing address, but the state absolutely requires a real, physical address for your legal location. Third, if you're selling on platforms like Amazon or Walmart, Michigan's marketplace facilitator laws mean those platforms actually collect the tax for you. But if you also sell directly from your own Shopify store or website, you still need your own permit for those direct sales. And lastly, your license does cover you statewide. But if you decide to open up a brand new physical storefront, you've got to log back into MCO and update your locations immediately. Finally, Section 6, after you get approved. So you've gathered your docs, you've dodged the pitfalls, you clicked submit. What actually happens next? Well, when you apply, the state's going to assign you a specific filing frequency, and this is all based on your estimated annual sales. Let's break this down. If your annual tax liability is going to be under $750, you just file annually by February 28th. Easy. If you owe between $750 and $3,600, you'll be bumped up to filing quarterly. And if you're a high-volume seller generating over $3,600 in tax, you're required to file every single month. Now, for both those monthly and quarterly filers, mark your calendars because your return and payment are always due on the 20th of the month following the end of your filing period. Your immediate next steps after approval are super straightforward. Like we mentioned, you can print your license right from MTO to get started immediately. Just note that your official Treasury registration, your TR number, will be snail mailed to you via the Postal Service, so that can take a few weeks to arrive. Crucially, though, the law specifically states you must display your license prominently at your physical business premises. So frame it, put it by the register. And finally, some good news. Once you're all set up, your license is valid from January through December, and it automatically renews every single year, provided you simply file and pay your returns on time. We've covered the rules, the digital portal, those sneaky economic thresholds, and the absolutely vital zero return requirements. You now have a complete step-by-step roadmap to successfully navigate the Michigan Department of Treasury. So the only question left to ask yourself is this. Are you ready to make your first fully compliant sale in the great state of Michigan? And just a quick reminder before we wrap this up. While this explainer provides a highly detailed roadmap straight from state guidelines, please always consult with a certified tax professional to get personalized advice tailored to your specific business structure. State tax procedures, economic thresholds, and laws can and do change over time. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and here's to a wildly successful, totally compliant business journey.